Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Authority File, the award-nominated podcast where you'll hear conversations with academic librarians, technologists, researchers, and authors whose work is laying the foundation for higher education's future. I'm Bill Mickey, your host and the editorial director at Choice. So along with the posting of our 300th episode in December, we learned that the Authority File, along with its sister podcast Toward Inclusive Excellence, has been nominated in several categories for the 2023 Publisher Podcast Awards. We'll be keeping our fingers crossed until April, when they'll hopefully become award-winning podcasts. So now on to this episode. There are a lot of headline-making events out there today, and two that are perpetually sitting near the top of our list here at the Authority File are cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. Of course, in our niche part of the world, these two topics typically mean research theft and, non-human research. But of course, cybersecurity and AI touch almost every aspect of our lives. And don't even get me started on the Internet of Things. But for now, though, we're going to look at mobility, as in cars, trucks, aerospace, and all of the things that transport and move people and products. If you stop and think, it won't take you long to realize how important cybersecurity and AI have become in the mobility world. Joining me to talk about this are Adrian Guan and Tim Weisenberger, who are both product managers at SAE International. SAE is an association for engineers and other technical experts in the aerospace, automotive, and commercial vehicle industries, and like many other associations of its size, it provides standards development, publications, live events, and other resources to professionals, researchers, and academics in these fields. Adrian is SAE's expert on AI, and Tim is responsible for cybersecurity. In this 4-part series, we'll be looking at how AI and cybersecurity impact mobility, as well as the real-life academic applications of SAE's work. This series is brought to you with support from SAE International. In this first episode, we learn about Adrian and Tim's expertise in AI and cyber, as well as how SAE stays ahead of the curve in development and standardization happening in these fields. Okay, Adrian and Tim, welcome to the program.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
for
us.
having me.
Sure. Let's start with having each of you talk a little bit about your background and how it led to your work at SAE International. And Tim, why don't we start with you and your work at the Department of Transportation?
Sure. Thanks, Bill. I spent about 15 years at the U.S. DOT in a very odd little agency called the John A. Volpe Center. The Volpe Center is a national systems center in the U.S. Department of Transportation. It's in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So I actually trucked my whole family out to Boston. It was quite a game changer in my life. And so was there initially to work on some things around smart card technology. I had stumbled into public transportation, then leveraged that to Motorola to provide solutions. That didn't really work out. I was one of the first of 60 some odd thousand people to be laid off. Went out and did this. But the role, very interestingly, was that of a project manager or consultant, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so we worked on various technologies for our customers. They like to call them sponsors because customer sounds too private sector, I think. So I worked with not only federal government, US DOT entities, but also Department of Homeland Security, TSA, other federal government entities, but also state and local. And I even had a couple of private sector and associations that I did a little work for, things like the I-95 Corridor Coalition. I was looking at technology for toll transponders and whatnot. But where I came to move over to SAE was kind of a convergence of a couple of things. One is I took on a role as a cybersecurity project manager. I helped NHTSA and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration develop their first policy around cybersecurity for automotive. It was completely a game changer. It really brought automotive into the new modern world of cybersecurity. It was very, very interesting. But then also I began to act as a secretary for an international standards group. And in fact, Adrian was the manager of that committee. at the International Organization of Standardization, or ISO. So that gave me, a little bit of, kind of a two-pronged set of experience. And then I started talking with SAE because they jumped on some of our recommendations to, well, there were two big ones. One was start an auto ISAC, which is an information sharing and analysis center, which was done. And then two was to develop some standards in the, automotive industry. And SAE stepped to the plate and created the first cybersecurity committee. And actually, I was here where I'm sitting, but across the way in our conference room 3 years before I joined here. It was the first time they had met. So that's really kind of where I come from and the background to get me to where we are today.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. And Adrian, how about you?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bill. I am trained as an electrical engineer and civil engineer. So I first developed a great interest in the intersection of information technology and ground transportation. It was then I realized that there are increasing number of information technologies that in transportation to move people and goods. And then I did some research in image processing, mostly for vehicle to and pedestrian detection, and vehicle to vehicle communication and vehicle to infrastructure communications. That's how I entered the field, so-called intelligent transport systems, ITS, which is to develop and deploy advanced information and communication technologies in ground transportation. So as the name intelligent transportation suggests, the objective is to make all the things in the transportation system smart, including vehicles, infrastructure, or handheld devices that we use. So in my last job, I conduct a research for Department of Transportation. About 10 years ago, I was fortunate to have a luxury of choosing whatever topics to write to analyze the impact of that technology to U.S. Department of Transportation's research and the industry. And so when I was tasked to do that, I chose my very first topic to be on computer vision, which is a typical artificial intelligence topic, because I see the impact it has and also have the background in that. And starting from there, I just followed the track to take some roles in intelligent transportation systems and artificial intelligence and to SAE. And here I'm taking the role to facilitate the creation and advancement of knowledge in ITS and artificial intelligence for mobility and work with stakeholders around the world through standardization, publication, as well as other programs.
Okay, excellent. You mentioned computer vision. Can you explain what that is? Is that related to the imaging that you mentioned before that, or?
Yeah, so computer vision, in a layman term, it just use a camera to perform some functionalities of human, either to detect an object or detect a scene. You may have seen the cameras everywhere on the street or on the vehicle. How to use a computer program to automate the process for detection. That's, in a nutshell, what computer vision is.
Got it. Thank you. So let's talk about SAE International a little bit. SAE offers a broad array of publications like books and journals and standards and lots more. Can you provide an overview of SAE International's market focus and the resources it offers its members and community? And while you're doing that, describe how these publications work to aid different audiences, kind of like academic versus industry. And Tim, I'll jump back over to you for this one.
Okay, great. Yeah, let me start off, and I think Adrian probably has a little more technical knowledge of the different publications. But what I think is very interesting about SAE, as I've been here 6.5 years now, and I've really, everything we do is pointed toward our members. And our members are made up of 128,000 plus individual people that are in the automotive, mobility sector. And so I think what we try and do, there is a lot of likes, a lot of dislikes, a lot of things that, disciplines that people are in and those that are not. So we have to have this really broad palette of offerings in order to bring each of those, disparate folks what they need. And by doing that, I think we give industry what it needs. So we really try and convene industry and be a forum to assimilate what is happening, whether it's, emerging technologies or just new ways of doing things, and be able to turn that around, whether in a publication, a peer-reviewed article, things like that nature. So we try and be as topical as we can. We try and give sort of our, I think SAE has a very good brand, not to the regular person maybe per se, but to industry folks that are active. And it's sort of that seal of approval. So we can push out these various documents that really speak to some of the issues that industry is wrestling with. And then, it helps crowdsource and those kind of things. But I think the other thing we do is use those documents are just one little element. I think we have many, many different, it's sort of a constellation of different things that we do that really leverage each other. So some of those, those technical publications will then, go and be moved into a standard development group. Some of them will turn into pre-competitive research and development. Some of them will be brought out into our professional events and used as panel discussions, things like that. So I think what we try and do is really, I don't think our focus is on crowdsourcing solutions, but what it is bringing everybody's ideas together, making them, available to others in industry on all those different levels.
Great. And Adrian, why don't you sort of help us zero in on the market focus?
Yeah, so SAE's focus, obviously geographically speaking, is worldwide, as we have authors and contributors everywhere in the world. Topic-wise, we cover not only legacy technologies like engines, safety, fuels, those sort of things, and also newer technologies we discussed today, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, everything related to mobility, both ground transportation and aerospace, aviation, everything mobility related is under SAE's umbrella. So SAE has long served as a trustworthy knowledge source for everything mobility related. So we want to be a one-stop shop for mobility professionals and those who are interested in mobility technologies or topics in general. And as the topics are evolving, our audience are evolving as well. As you mentioned, that we have the segmentation of academia and industry, but we are serving both. I think that's how SAE set is apart from other publishers in terms of the technical contents we provide. And we believe that there's a benefit of the two segmentation of our audience to learn from each other, to learn, what the academic research is and also what's going on in the industry. So we try to promote the exchange between the two communities. And as a practical field, mobility is very application or real world problems oriented.
Right.
So that's sort of underscore the need for the academia and the industry to collectively advance the knowledge and solutions.
Yeah, can I maybe jump in there too? I think many of the technical solutions, they when it's a very, very early development cycle, that's really for academic researchers or other research companies. Our customers or our members who are actually actively working at trying to put product out, they want something a little more, down the road, ready to be able to be produced. So I think, just to emphasize what Adrian was saying, that's a really good sort of symbiotic relationship.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah. So as it covers AI in various information products, on the standards, we have dedicated AI committees on both ground vehicle side and aerospace side. We produce documents in taxonomy, use cases, statement of concerns, and There are also other active SAE standards committed to produce AI-related contents. For example, most notably SAE's J3016, that is referenced as SAE's levels of driving automation, has been the industry's most cited source for driving automation. And beyond standards, we have a big portion of AI content provided in publications. For example, we have several journals to cover AI, such as connected and automated vehicles, passenger vehicle systems, sustainable transportation, and energy, environment, and policy, electric vehicle, and aerospace, just a lot of them. We don't have a dedicated AI publication. So you will find those AI topics covered in all those publications. Usually, those publications feature AI in their regular issues and produce also special issues on some AI use cases or subtopics. We just closed 2 calls for papers, and there are another call for papers out on AI on topics like automated system, safety, smart cities, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be an influx of AI content to be provided by SE publications. Other than publication, we have a lot of events to produce conference papers. And SE also launched a mobility archive, which is a preprint server to host those publications that are requiring early citations, comments, or collaboration. And I also want to mention, as he has a Edge Report research series that look at those emerging topics, and we visited and revisit AI several times in the series, and we just published 100th Edge Report, and among them, AI topics covered from technologies to legal issues, from automated driving to human machine interface, from automated onboard technology to aerospace manufacturing, you name it. Just we try to cover all aspects of AI for mobility in all the information products that we cover.
Okay. And then this is going to jump over to Tim to see if, cybersecurity has a similar kind of
Sure.
production infrastructure in terms of content formats and that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I think it's sort of this overarching sort of discipline that sits over the top of really any, specific technology or system or subsystem. And before I go on too far, I want to point out that Adrian really is sort of the father of what we are now doing with artificial intelligence and all the things it's doing. It started with him just rolling up his sleeves and doing research and really trying to target what we needed to do to help industry move the ball forward in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And as you might imagine, I think, there's lots of different use cases that are using this. I think everyone jumps to, vehicle automation, but, I think manufacturing, anything you could name, you're going to want to engage in the new technologies and specifically AI to really help you be more efficient and make better products. So, but on the cyber side, I think that's a bit more mature for us. And I think for in general for industry, again, I talked about how I sort of made a step into cybersecurity. Maybe I can unpack a little bit how that happened. There was a little bit of an issue with Toyota Camrys back about 15 years ago that were accelerating out of control. And in order to wrap everybody's hands around it, the U.S. government, I'm sure, others around the world were starting to really research what the heck is this. And, our regulator, NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, I don't know if I got that right as I blurted it out, but they were really concerned, well, what could this be? And so not only did they hire Volpe Center folks like myself and some folks to look at functional safety, but they went and hired NASA to look at the software. And so they literally went and got NASA, rocket scientists to say, hey, what's going on here? Now, in the end, it was deemed that it was the fault of floor mats. But I think what happened is while we were pulled into this to look at functional safety and cybersecurity as a few project managers, what we really did was help the industry understand that you can't ignore cybersecurity. You need to know what's going on here. And everyone, has the initial thought of, well, I just need to not talk with these cyber folks and hackers and bad. But honestly, they picked it up very quickly. In my estimation, as an industry, we have a bunch of engineers. Really, it's very product development focused. And think about it, engineers like process. They like plugging and chugging. They have a problem. They identify a solution. They fix the problem. They go on to the next problem. And so what we really saw as the best practice is you have to get involved in cybersecurity before you have a breach. Before, I've lost, a million customers, personal information. You want to get into there before it happens. And honestly, I do not know a better example of an industry doing that than automotive, and aerospace and mobility in general, because it's always been about safety, right?
Yeah.
Reliability and safety. Now, and we started saying this, and then one of my colleagues from the UK stole it from me. That was okay. But we said you can't be safe unless you're secure. It's sort of a twisted pair, which is a way to get, electrical engineers to understand that.
Yeah.
It's all wrapped up. And so what we have done from there, again, I wasn't even involved in the first few years of the development of FSAE's cyber standard, but once I was here, and it was after it was already published. We published the world's first cybersecurity standard for mobility in 2016. I won't give you the gobbledygook name. I really don't know it, but it's essentially a cyber physical system guidebook to how do you do cybersecurity. And so I'll unpack some of those weird terms. First, cyber physical system, I think it was coined by NIST, the National Institute of Science and Technology. And it really means, to me, any kind of IT network application, what have you, that has a physical impact on the world. Mm-hmm. So things like pump actuators and vehicles and aircraft and right, because it's all just bundles of hardware and software and firmware and middleware and all of that. So it has this physical impact on the world. So that comes with some unique challenges, right? You can't just take it offline. You can't take your car offline in the middle of the road and figure out what's going on, do updates, that kind of thing. So there are a lot of tricky bits in there, and our experts really rolled up their sleeves and identified what are the use case requirements and how do we fit them. And in the end, as I always say it, not just here, but everywhere, it doesn't matter how professional or technical the audience, what we purport is to do a risk-based, process-driven approach to cybersecurity standards, to cybersecurity throughout the product development lifecycle. And now what we have done is in the past 5 years, we've worked with our colleagues at ISO to create an ISO/SAE standard. The number changed and whatnot, but it's really, we took our document, made it bigger, stronger, gets whites whiter, all of that. And now that standard is really sort of the Bible that anyone in the mobility industry uses to plan out their cybersecurity approach. Because you really don't want to get to, well, use this actual technical solution because it's the best. You want to just say, do your threat analysis and then apply security controls as you see fit, right? The most critical and the most likely are the ones you want to put your resources on. The least critical and the least likely, you could probably leave for another day. Okay. So I think that our industry really gets that very, very well. And there has yet to be an example of a breach in the wild, as we say, in the mobility industry.
You just heard from Adrian Guan and Tim Weisenberger, who are both product managers at SAE International. Adrian is SAE's expert on AI, and Tim is responsible for cybersecurity. Join us next week as we discuss the impact artificial intelligence has had on mobility, including how it is utilized in mobility applications. This 4-part series is brought to you with support from SAE International.
And more broadly, we've seen a growing number of other sort of robotic devices, or should I call it road users on the street, sort of deliver the goods on the sidewalk, or on the street. And that obviously has gone beyond robotic topics because it carries implications on the mobility systems operation and safety. There are a lot of other implications out of those new type of devices. So AI is just very much everywhere.
As always, underwriting opportunities for the Authority File podcast are directed by Choice's advertising manager, Pam Marino, and all of our episodes are produced and edited by Choice's digital media producer, Sabrina Kofer, with support from digital media assistant, Ashley Roy. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.